Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Your Excellencies, leaders of sustainability and innovation, our esteemed guests. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When we talk about innovation and sustainability, we must consider intellectual property. IB, it is not only the machines or factories, but it's the intangible ideas, creation, and innovations that drive progress. It is the patent for reverse osmosis system that filters the water that you drink now, and it is the geographical indication for Ajwat al-Madina that you eat during your breakfast in Ramadan. And it is the copyright of the program that monitors the air pollution for us to breathe the cleaner air. So IB and sustainability it's all around us. In this session today, inshallah, we will delve into the importance of IB protection in sustainability, answering three main questions. Why, what, and how? What's the importance of IB policy and strategy in sustainability? How can we generate value from patents and other IB rights in the fields of environment, water, and agriculture? And finally, what are the future? We'll talk about the future. What are the future trends and outlook of IB protection in sustainability? It will be my pleasure to present a respected panel of experts with me here today. And I will start with Mr. Fashi. Fashi Kansejar is a leader for Clarifit IB division, and he is a member of executive leadership in that division with over 18 years of experience when it comes to intellectual property and innovation. And he has worked with government agency, law firms, and corporations across various industries. Welcome, Mr. Fashi.
Thank you very much.
The second panel, Dr. Mohab Anis. Mohab is an engineering professor at the American University at Cairo, and he is a co-founder of Innofity, which is a leading innovation management consulting firm. Mr. Mohab is a faculty member of electric engineering at he was, and earlier at University of Waterloo. At that time, he was consulting at US and Canada for Fortune 500 companies. He holds, Mr. Mohab holds PhD in computer engineering and a master degree in innovation and entrepreneurship. Welcome, Mr. Mohab.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Ms. Dina. She is an international IB consultant with over 20 years of experience with organizations like WIPO and EU. She is also a university lecturer and the founder of IB Tokona, where she provides specialized IB training for business entrepreneurs and professionals, empowering them to protect their ideas and drive innovation. Welcome, Dina, and welcome, everybody. So I will start the discussion with you, Ms. Dina, about discussing the geographical indication as one aspect of intellectual property. So as we know, the geographical indication have the potential to promote sustainable agriculture practices and to protect the traditional knowledge when it comes to environment, water, and agriculture. So in your thought, how can we effectively leverage geographical indications to align these goals, and can you share some of the successful examples and the stories that illustrate the impact of sustainable development?
So, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mazen, and thank you for RDIA and the Ministry of Water and Agriculture for the opportunity to join this insightful panel. When we think about sustainability, we envision a balance. It's a harmony between environment, economy, and society. So what's the link with geographical indications? And first of all, what are geographical indications, or GIs? They are products, they are signs that use on products that have a specific geographical area and that possess qualities and reputation due to that origin. So we are not talking here about only intellectual property tools, but we are talking about also driving powerful forces that drive sustainability across its three pillars. Let me just begin with a story about the Gruyere cheese. Imagine you're savoring a slice of Gruyere cheese produced in the Swiss Alps using age-old techniques. It's not only a cheese, it's a symbol of quality, of identity, and of tradition. The status of GI registration, when protect and register a GI, we are protecting this cultural heritage and this specific know-how of producers that have perfected it over centuries. However, GIs are more than just heritage, they are sustainability in action, because they are linked to the three pillars of sustainability. First of all, environmentally speaking, GRs are deeply tied to their ecosystems. So there is a link to the land and to the people who are perfectioning and producing these products. Let's take the example of Gruyere, for example, the specific grasses of the alpine production and pasture that feeded the cows. These elements are giving the products its specific flavors and its specific characteristics. And also, environmentally speaking, GIs also help to maintain the natural landscape in the area of production, to preserve and promote biodiversity, and to protect all the ecosystem for future generations. Socially speaking, GIs also empower communities in order to preserve their cultural heritage. I can give you here the example. Let's stay in the example of Gruyere. It's been produced since the year of 1115 with the same production technique. So we can see from how long this traditional technique is still alive due to the protection of this geographical indication. Also socially, GIs can help the cohesion between all stakeholders and the producers in the value chain in the geographical area. So there is a link and cohesion between them in order to collectively manage and defend their geographical indication. It helps also to empower minorities in the local communities, such as rural women, for example, and smallholders, small producers, to take advantage from the GI. And finally, economically speaking, GIs also are game-changing. So at the end, what is important for producers is to gain financial benefit and financial stability from the use of GIs. So geographical indication commands premium prices, creating this financial stability. Also, we all know that nowadays consumer value authentic and high quality products, so they are willing to pay this premium price in order to have a product where they have information about the food security, about the method of production, about the geographical origin. Also, economically, GI help to redistribute the added value for small producers, so not only the retailers and the end of the value chain can benefit from the GI process, also the small producers and the minorities in the communities can benefit. Economically speaking as well, GI helps producers to access new markets. I can give you, for example, the example of Darjeeling tea in India. After the registration of the GI in 2003, they were able to access 10 new markets thanks to this registration. Also, geographical indication has a very strong link with tourism. We all know that people always connect gastronomy with tourism. So we are willing to visit specific destinations in order to taste their specific food, to purchase it. I can give here the example of Colombian coffee, where every year millions of coffee lovers visited the area of production of coffee of Colombia in order to taste the coffee, to purchase it, and in order to discover the technical know-how of producers. So there are many activities created in this destination in order to enhance tourism, which is linked to geographical indication. Now, to effectively leverage GIs as sustainable tools, there are many best practices to follow. First of all, it's very essential to start since the early beginning of the GI process with participatory process that involve all stakeholders, from producers to transformers to distributors, but also to policy makers, in order to have this collective ownership of the sustainable goals of geographical indications. The second key element is the book of specifications that should outline clear standards related to sustainability in farmer practices, in preserving the landscape, and in promoting biodiversity. All these efforts as well should be supported by strong legal frameworks and targeted policy, also by financial assistance, especially for small producers, in order to help them to invest in sustainability, especially at the early beginning of the process, when they don't still have the means to benefit from the GI process. And last point is to provide capacity building and the trainings for producers, for policymakers as well, and for people engaging in the registration procedure of geographical indication, in order to see how the whole system function, and provide them with all practical tools that could amplify contributions of GIs in the environment, society, and economy. Just to end with a few examples on how successful GIs currently meet these standards of sustainability. For example, the price premium. In the European Union, the geographical indications are twice more expensive than non-GI versions. An example for the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese in Italy, for example, they involve 50,000 producers in the value chain. So we can see the big number of local producers and how GIs can help in local employment and creating local employment for 50,000 producers. Another example is for Comté cheese in France, where they clearly outlined in their book of specification that they would like to preserve the landscape in their area of production in order to provide a biodiverse environment that support a wide variety of plants and animal species. And finally, an example from India for the basmati rice, where they decided also to conserve water by using alternate wetting and drying irrigation, harvesting rainwater, and monitoring the groundwater in order to preserve water for irrigation. So from all these examples, we can see that there are a lot of potential for GIs to contribute to sustainability. However, a very well managed and structured strategy is very essential in order to attain all this potential.
Thank you, Mr. Dina, for this insightful answer. My next and following discussion with Mr. Youfashi, I will discuss with you the relationship between IB rights and the sustainability. So, in your thought, how can intellectual property rights such as patent, trademarks, and plant variety be leveraged to protect innovation solutions in the environment, water, and agriculture? And can you share some of the specific examples and success stories in that industries?
Absolutely. And first of all, it's an absolute honor to be here today and to be a part of this very important discussion. I think Dr. Dina gave some excellent examples of the power and value of intellectual property. In our knowledge economy, knowledge-intensive economy today, IP plays a critical role. And it's not just from a legal perspective, it also plays an important role from a strategic perspective. Intellectual property can catalyze innovation. It incentivizes innovators to continue to innovate. It provides a framework for collaboration. And then in the context of sustainability, and you think about the areas of water, environment, agriculture, and various other industries itself, it becomes important to support all the way through the intellectual property value chain. And that is, if you think about it, from actually creating an invention itself and making sure that the invention is kept confidential, through to filing a patent that relates to green technology and making sure that you're able to take that to market in the right way and to be able to collaborate in the right way as well, and to protect the brands that support it, organic products that you have produced, making sure that that's protected in the right way, and plant varieties and important that plays in breeders' rights and making sure that the new innovation is applied becomes really important. But the point is that IP plays a critical role all the way through the innovation life cycle. But what's often misunderstood about IP is that it's not just a legal framework. It's not just a legal tool. It's a strategic innovation tool that should be utilized in the right way to catalyze innovation. And I think that's what's often misunderstood. Now, IP doesn't just come on its own. It comes with challenges as well. And particularly when you're thinking about sustainability, it becomes very important because it's a balance between protection and access. And that becomes very important. It supports collaboration, but making sure that you're collaborating in a fair and reasonable way. The other side about intellectual property that people often forget is that in exchange for this government-granted monopoly, the right that you get, the innovators are supposed to disclose the innovation and the idea and the invention that sits behind it. And the whole idea is that that drives growth in the economy because people can continuously build on this. What that creates is a pool, a vast pool of knowledge that sits in patent office databases, it sits in multiple commercial databases that could be accessed to drive further innovation. And if you think about innovation today, it's not straightforward, it's complex. There's a term that's often used called technology convergence, where different technologies that need to come together to solve specific problems. Or you may have a problem in agriculture that is already being solved in petrochem. How do you find that knowledge? A lot of that knowledge first sits in a patent, and it's important to be able to mine through this information, analyze the information, and to be able to extract this knowledge and to apply it onto your current problem. So that's a key piece around innovation itself.
Thank you, Fashi, for this insightful answer, and I totally agree with you that the IBE framework is not only legal. We have to think about to build a dynamic IB framework in order to foster innovation and make the balance between protection and fostering innovation. My next following question will be to you, Dr. Mohab, and I will discuss with you now the technology transfer and commercialization of IB. So in your opinion, how IB policy and technology transfer mechanism promote the diffusion and the commercialization of IB for sustainable technologies?
Thank you very much, Mazen, and very happy to be with all of you today. So as you mentioned that IP is not a legal framework, it's something that you have to take it at the strategy level primarily, and this is where policy starts coming into the picture. But let me break your question into two parts, the policy part and the technology transfer part. The policy part, there are different type of levels that policy needs to be taken into account, the macro level, the meso level, and the micro level. So at the macro level, many governments actually establish an IP policy, an IP strategy at the national level. Sometimes it's coupled with the innovation strategy at the national level, and sometimes not. So one example is that countries such as Brazil and South Korea, they actually created a policy where they fast-tracked the exploitation of green patents. And that immediately helped a lot with the adoption of this kind of technology at a much faster pace. That's an example of a policy at the national level. There's also policies that are at the meso level, which is mostly on the private sector side. So a good example would be that there are companies that come together and they create a pool of patents where they can share and they can exploit in a free way. So IBM and Nokia, for example, they did that a few years back, and that again helped with the sharing part. Also, you will find companies like, for example, Tesla, that created a policy whereby they adopted the concept of open innovation, where they actually allowed other people to use their patents and to improve on them. And that immediately allowed that the technology itself was improved, expedited, improved, and actually adopted. And electrical vehicles have started to become kind of a dominant design in the market, which helped with network of externalities and people to adopt this kind of technology. And finally, at the university level, also, policy is very important. So I come from a University of Waterloo, before I came back to Egypt. University of Waterloo had an IP policy which was very generous, that if a researcher comes up with a technology or any kind of research, they own it 100%. And at the beginning, people were saying, why do you have a policy like this? You should benefit something as a university, but the university had actually a longer vision for that. They said that if we create this kind of an IP policy, this will encourage people to actually innovate and to establish startups. And what happened, that if you look at the city of Waterloo in the 1960s versus Waterloo today it has actually become like the Silicon Valley of Canada. It's in Waterloo, just because of the immense amount of innovation and spin-offs that were coming out of the university. So policy is extremely important to be established, whether it is at the government level, at the private sector level, or the university level. Now, going to your last part about the technology transfer, this also relates very nicely with the IP side. One of the things that we have been working on over the past years is that we look at the intellectual assets inside the organization first, and then see how they can transfer this in the form of a technology. We look at whether this is a technology that you own or not, if you've licensed it or not. And this gives you some very good direction of how can you do certain type of technology transfers. So just to round this up, policy, yes, we should have it at the government level, but there are a lot of things that the private sector and the university level can do, and that definitely helps significantly with the process of technology transfer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohab, and I totally agree with you that IB policy should be more dynamic and have the flexibility to be make the balance between protection and fostering innovation. My following question goes to you, Ms. Dina, and we'll discuss the circular economy and the green trademarks. So, in your opinion, how can the principle of circular economy be applied in all the sector, environment, water, and agriculture? And what role can the green trademarks play in incentivize the sustainable practice? And can you share some successful example within 2 minutes, if you don't mind, because we are all of this the second round, because we run out of time, and there are two questions for the audience at the end, so prepare yourself for that. Please, Dina.
Okay, so the circular economy, as you know, it focuses on reducing waste, reusing resources, and regenerating systems that could fully be applied to agriculture, water, and environment. In agriculture, this can mean turning waste into compost, for example, for better soil, using environmentally friendly practices, and also reusing water for irrigation. A key player in the circular economy, as you mentioned, is green trademarks that are brands that champion environmental responsibility. They are labels used by products or companies in order to convey a message to the consumer that they meet a certain level of environmental or sustainability standard. I can give you one shining example in this context is the example of the Spanish fashion brand EcoAlf, which its role is to turn waste into fashion by using recycled materials such as ocean plastic. So it is really a circular economy in action in this case. However, not all green trademarks are created equal. Some brands engage in greenwashing, which can mean that they can misleading consumers that they are meeting environmental responsibility. So that's why in this case, transparency, accountability, and verification from third parties are very important to ensure how green marks really can support sustainability. In this case, we have the example of the EU Eco-label that set gold standards and strict requirements in order for companies and producers to use these labels as green trademark. Just to finish with another inspiring example that inspired me personally is for a Swiss startup called Noriware, co-founded by a young lady, Jessica Farda, in order to transform packaging through using of recycled resources, which is seaweed. So in order, instead of turning to plastic that contributes to pollution, they use biodegradable, they create biodegradable packaging using these resources, these recycled resources material. So they cut down on plastic waste. So also seaweed, there has no chemicals, no fertilizers, and there is no fresh need for fresh water to grow. So this example, it shows how circular economy and green trademarks can drive really meaningful environmental responsibility and can lead to a using of practical sustainability practices. Just to end, geographical indications and trademarks, just to know they are not just certifications, they are transformative tools, especially if they are used and managed with integrity. So sustainability in itself, it is not only a goal, it's a story behind that we write behind every geographical indication, every green mark we promote, every intellectual property we protect, and with every step we take toward a fairer and greener world. So now let's, when we are facing all these challenges, the link between intellectual property and sustainability is much more critical than ever. So together, let's ensure that these tools are driving the change we need, not only for today, but for generations to come.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dina. I will come back to you, Dr. Mohab, discussing, as we are talking about circular economy, so we are moving from linear economy to circular economy. So in your thoughts, how does IP protection align with those goals of circular economy to minimize the waste for reusing resource and promote a sustainable practice when it comes to manufacturing process? Please, in 2 minutes, please.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you something that we have been working on. So we design products and processes that can apply different type of green practices. So I'll give you 2 examples just for the interest of time. One of them, you can do this either at the product level, the process level, or the business model level. So at the product level, one of the principles that we try to urge companies to apply is to create modular products. A product that you can actually take out certain pieces and able to replace them, and you don't need to, and you can recycle them. So this is in its heart, it's actually a green practice principle. This would not be applicable, or it would not be satisfactory for the company unless there's an IP policy related to this. So in this case, design patents, utility patents would work very well with these kind of modular type of products that companies now are starting to look at. Another thing that is actually working quite well is a change in the business model of products. So instead of selling a product, you're actually now selling a service. So just to give everyone a feeling about this, if you want to buy, let's say, a light bulb, right? You normally buy a light bulb as a product, right? And then when it goes bad, you basically throw it in the garbage, and that's a total waste. So what Philips started to do now is that instead of selling the product, they are actually giving you the product at a discounted price or sometimes for free, and then they charge you a subscription fee for the service of using the bulbs. Now, in order for this to work, you have to have, of course, a very strong IoT system that monitors, the light consumption, the energy consumption, which bulbs fail or not, and that is something that they can certainly patent as a company. And also, this process, because it's now they can position it as being green, they can actually create a trademark that positions Philips as a company that is promoting green practices. So that's also another example. This is a business model innovation that relies also on IP practices. So just to sum this up, when you look at green practices such as reducing waste, recycling, upcycling, and so forth, you can look at it from the product process and from the business model side. And for each one of these levels, you can apply an IP flavor in it, whether it is a normal patent, a utility patent, a design patent, or a trademark. Again, for the purpose of strengthening the image of the company to its customers and to create value for itself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohab. I will end up with you, Mr. Fashi, talking about the future and how technology revolution can change the practice of IB. So, in your opinion, how artificial intelligence can reshape intellectual property landscape? What are the future trends of AI and IB, and how can we prepare as organization and government sector, private sector? And if there is some example, if you can share it within 2 minutes, please.
Absolutely, I'll be very quick. Maybe a question for the audience here. Who's using AI for work? If you could just show a small show of hands. Okay. So it's moved from hype to reality. It is here today, and it's a transformative technology. There's a lot of innovation that's going on, from advancements in generative AI, the large language models that are being developed, the strength and ability and accuracy of the large language models itself. Natural language processing has advanced. But the reality is it's solving unique problems. And where it becomes very interesting is when it becomes very industry specific. So if it's solving problems in agriculture, solving problems in water, that's when it becomes even more powerful. And one of the key areas that you'll often see a lot of AI solution providers focusing on is in the world of intellectual property. IP is incredibly complex, the process itself, but also creating IP is incredibly complex for R&D folks who are developing new innovation, accessing a lot of the data, converting that knowledge into an invention, and then taking that through the entire IP process is incredibly complex, and it's applying it to that problem. IP is meaningless without a purpose, and there's a lot of purpose and unique problems to be solved today, and that's where AI is playing a unique challenge. And I guess my last passing phrase is, as you think about AI, a lot of people often ask us, is AI going to disrupt our industry? So we work a lot with lawyers and patent attorneys and trademark attorneys, and they often ask us are you developing technology that is going to replace our jobs? And the answer is no, AI isn't there today to replace human beings, but the people that are not using AI will be replaced by the people that are using AI, and that's a really important thing to remember for everyone.
Thank you so much. I think we are running out of time. Sorry, we cannot take a public question, but however, our pioneer guest and speaker will be around to answer your questions. So I want to leave you with this final thoughts. Successful innovation demands collaboration. So as we gather here today, let's cooperate and integrate our efforts in order to shape and design a sustainable future. Thank you so much.